The war began without a warning. It started with a flash of light across the night sky and the sound of explosions rolling over the city. People ran through the streets, searching for shelter, while the military scrambled to respond. Nobody knew who the attackers were, only that their ships were unlike anything seen before. They moved in silence, black against the stars, and their weapons cut through human defenses with ease. Captain Ryan Hale had fought in battles before, but nothing like this. He stood on the roof of the command post, watching the alien ships descend. The city lights reflected off their curved, purple metal hulls, making them glow like something from another world. He could feel the vibrations under his feet from their landing thrusters. Somewhere inside, orders were being shouted, but he could not look away from the sight. This was not just an attack. It felt like an invasion from a power that had already decided the outcome. When the alien troops stepped into the streets, the truth became clear. They were tall, strong, and carried weapons no human had ever seen. Their armor shimmered like liquid metal, and their skin was shades of violet and indigo. They moved in perfect coordination, pushing through the resistance like a wave through sand. The people they captured were forced to kneel, heads bowed, as alien officers walked past. It was not only a war for land, it was a war for dominance. Ryan's unit was ordered to hold the eastern sector, but within an hour, half his men were down. Communications failed, supply lines were cut, and the alien advance showed no sign of slowing. He fired from behind a barricade, dropping one of the invaders with a well-placed shot, but more came to take its place. He knew they could not win in the open. Retreat was the only option left. Yet, as he moved, something strange happened. The aliens stopped firing. Instead, a group surrounded him, their weapons lowered but ready. Then he saw her. She walked between the soldiers like a queen among her court. Her long white hair glowed in the sunlight, braided with golden strands. A crown of sharp gold points rested on her head, with gems that caught the light in deep purple fire. Her eyes locked on Ryan, cold and fierce, as if she could see through his soul. She wore armor that was both beautiful and deadly, engraved with symbols he did not understand. Every soldier around her bowed slightly as she passed. She did not bow to anyone. The alien queen stopped in front of him. For a moment, there was only silence between them, the sound of the battlefield fading into the distance. She studied him as if he were a puzzle she did not expect to find here. Then, with a voice both sharp and commanding, she spoke. "How dare you even look at me?" she said. Her tone was not anger alone. It was disbelief, as if no one had ever dared meet her eyes before. The soldiers around her tensed, waiting for her command. Ryan did not look away. Instead, he smiled. It was not a mocking smile, nor one of arrogance. It was a simple, human smile, the kind that came from instinct rather than thought. "Because you're beautiful," he replied. His words cut through the air like a blade. The alien soldiers shifted uneasily. The queen's expression did not change, but her eyes flashed with something that was not anger. For the first time, she seemed uncertain, as if she did not know whether to be insulted or intrigued. Before she could speak again, an explosion shook the street. Dust and debris filled the air, forcing everyone to take cover. Ryan dropped behind a broken wall, coughing, while the aliens regrouped. Through the haze, he saw her still standing, unmoved by the blast, her gaze fixed on him. She raised her hand, and the soldiers closed in. Ryan's rifle was gone, his escape blocked. Yet, in that moment, with the Queen's eyes locked on his, he realized this war had just changed, not because of weapons or tactics, but because of what had passed between them in those few seconds. Ryan felt the cold grip of alien hands on his arms as the soldiers pulled him to his feet. Their armor pressed against him, and he could hear the low hum of their weapons charging. He did not fight back. He knew it would be pointless now. The alien queen still stood where she had been moments ago. Her eyes locked on him as if she were studying prey she had never seen before. The street around them was filled with smoke, broken walls, and the distant cries of those who had been captured. But her focus was only on him. They marched him through the ruined streets toward a massive transport ship. The craft towered above the buildings, its hull glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Ryan's boots crunched on shattered glass and debris as he was pushed forward. Civilians knelt along the sides of the street, guarded by silent soldiers. The air felt heavier here, thick with fear and the metallic scent of alien technology. Still, Ryan kept his gaze ahead, refusing to show them the fear they wanted to see. The Queen walked ahead of him without looking back, yet he could feel her presence pulling at his thoughts. Inside the transport, the air was cooler and smelled faintly of strange oils. The walls were lined with smooth panels that shifted colors, slowly, like the inside of some living creature. Ryan was pushed into a chamber with high ceilings and a round central platform. The Queen stepped onto the platform and turned to face him. Her soldiers spread out in a circle, their weapons aimed but steady. She removed the crown from her head and set it on a stand beside her. Without the crown, she seemed younger, though no less commanding. She spoke again, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. "You are different from the others," she said. Ryan tilted his head slightly, meeting her gaze without hesitation. "Different how?" he asked. The Queen's lips curved just enough to suggest she was testing him. The others avert their eyes. They tremble. They beg. "But you stand there as if you have nothing to fear," she said. Ryan shrugged lightly. "Fear is not going to change what happens next," he replied. Her soldiers exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Behind their helmets, she stepped closer, and for the first time, Ryan saw the faint shimmer of energy flowing beneath her skin. It was beautiful, in a way he had not expected. She circled him slowly, her eyes moving over him as if assessing a weapon rather than a man. "You are human. Your kind has caused trouble for my empire before. Yet you stand here as though you understand us," she said. Ryan kept his voice calm. "Maybe I don't understand everything, but I know one thing. You fight for power. I fight for the people I care about." She stopped behind him, close enough for him to feel the faint warmth radiating from her. "Care is a weakness," she said. "Power is what decides who survives," she added. Ryan turned his head slightly toward her voice. "Then maybe that's why you're wrong," he said. The soldiers shifted again, clearly uneasy at his words. The Queen moved to stand in front of him once more. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a tension in her gaze that had not been there before. "You dare challenge my beliefs with such ease," she said. Ryan smiled faintly. "Only because you asked me questions," he replied. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The Queen's eyes narrowed, but not in anger. She was thinking. The sound of the ship's engines thrummed beneath them, a steady reminder that they were already leaving the city far behind. Through a narrow viewport, Ryan could see the ground falling away. The city became a cluster of lights in the distance, then vanished beneath thick clouds. The alien Queen followed his gaze briefly before speaking again. "Your world will fall soon," she said. "Its leaders will kneel, its armies will break, and its people will serve." Ryan kept his eyes on the clouds. "Or maybe you'll see that we are more trouble than we're worth," he said. Her head tilted slightly at his words, as if they intrigued her more than they angered her. "You believe you can change what is already decided?" she asked. "I believe nothing is decided until it happens," he replied. She stepped closer, her violet eyes locking onto his. "You are bold," she said quietly. "Boldness can be dangerous. It can also be valuable." Ryan caught the hesitation in her voice. It was the first time she had let uncertainty slip through her carefully controlled tone. He knew then that something in their short exchange had unsettled her. Not enough to free him. Not yet. But enough to make her think. And in war, making your enemy think was often the first step toward victory. The transport docked inside a colossal carrier that floated like a city in the sky. Ryan was led down a corridor that pulsed with soft violet light and a low heartbeat hum. The walls flowed with moving symbols that looked alive. He counted doors and corners and marked guard patterns in his head. 2 soldiers stayed on his left and right while one walked behind him. The queen walked ahead without speaking, but he felt her attention on him with every step they took. They entered a chamber that looked like a throne room carved from metal and light. A halo of gold beams rose behind a high seat shaped like a crescent. The queen did not sit. She turned and faced him while her officers formed a half circle. A slender device was brought forward by a robed attendant. Ryan guessed it was a translator or a reader. The queen lifted it and held it near his chest. A thin wave passed through him like warm air after rain. "Your heart rate is steady," she said in a quiet voice that carried across the room. "You feel fear, but you choose your words with care." Ryan kept his shoulders loose and his eyes level. "Fear tells me I am alive. Care tells me I still have choices," he said. Several officers whispered among themselves. She raised one hand, and the whispers stopped. The device hummed again and projected a small star map in the air between them. A red point blinked over Earth like a wounded spark. "This is your world," she said. "You have one chance to help it. Tell me who commands your hidden fleets." Ryan looked at the map and then at her face. "We do not have hidden fleets," he said. "We have people who refuse to give up." The officers bristled, but the queen only watched him. "You offer bravery where I demand facts," she said. "Bravery without facts is noise," added a general to her left. Ryan let the insult pass like wind over stone and kept his focus on the queen. He spoke about families in shelters and medics who worked through fire. He spoke about farmers who shared food with strangers and engineers who fixed broken lines in the dark. He did not beg or try to impress. He described simple things people did when the sky fell. The queen listened with the stillness of a statue while the officers looked bored. When he finished, she tapped the device and the star map folded into a point of light in her palm. She closed her hand and the point vanished like a swallowed spark. "You speak of duty, not weapons," she said. "What I need from an enemy is the truth of their strength." Ryan answered before fear could harden his voice. "Then this is our strength. We hold each other when the walls break. We stand again after the smoke clears. We smile when we should. Hate. You wanted the truth, and this is it." The general stepped forward and demanded permission to interrogate him by force. Ryan met the man's gaze and kept still as stone while the queen considered the request. Her answer came as a shock to everyone. "No," she said. "He will be tested in a different way." She gestured and the guards unlocked Ryan's restraints. They did not give him a weapon. They led him down a side passage into a training hall with a floor like liquid glass. 3. Warriors waited with staffs that crackled with energy at the tips. "You will face them," the queen said from the balcony above. "If you fall, I will know your value was only in words. If you stand, then your words might weigh more than I thought," she said. The first warrior rushed in with smooth steps and a lightning strike. Ryan moved on instinct and let the blow pass his shoulder. He rolled and came up inside the warrior's guard, driving his palm to the alien's chest and knocking the staff away. The second came fast with a spinning sweep. Ryan jumped and the arc of energy ripped the air beneath his feet. He landed and stepped into the sweep with a shoulder block that sent the attacker skidding. The third circled, patient and precise, and Ryan felt the change like a drop in wind before a storm. He could not match their reach or their alien speed, so he changed the rhythm. He feinted clumsy, made a mistake on purpose, and drew the third warrior in tight. At the last instant, he turned the angle and used the alien's momentum to throw him hard to the floor. All 3 were down, not broken but surprised. Ryan backed away and raised his hands to show he did not want to hit them again. The guards lifted their weapons, waiting for the queen to speak while the hall rang with the last echo of the fall. The queen descended the stairs with slow, measured steps. Her eyes never left him. "You did not strike to maim," she said. "You ended the fight without cruelty." Ryan breathed deep and steady. "Pain gives nothing that truth cannot give," he said. A faint ripple crossed her face. Not a smile, and not a frown. Something private and unreadable. She looked at her officers and then at the warriors rising to their feet. "Prepare the envoy cell," she said. "He is a prisoner no longer. He is a guest under watch," she said. Ryan was escorted from the training hall by 2 guards, whose expressions were hidden behind mirrored helmets. They walked him through a series of arched corridors, where the walls glowed faintly with shifting colors. He caught glimpses of alien script carved into the metal and flowing like liquid in the light. The air was cooler here, almost clean enough to smell of nothing at all. They stopped before a tall doorway that opened without a sound. Inside was a chamber unlike any cell he had imagined. The room was circular, its walls lined with translucent panels that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the center stood a low bed covered in dark fabric, and near it a small table with a single chair. One wall opened to a viewport that showed the endless black of space, streaked with distant stars. Ryan stepped inside and turned slowly, taking in the strange mixture of comfort and surveillance. The guards remained at the door while a silent drone floated in, scanning the room. A moment later, the queen entered. She was without her crown again, her white hair braided down her back and a faint glow in her violet eyes. "This is where you will stay," she said. "You will eat and rest, and when I call for you, you will answer." Ryan met her gaze and nodded slightly. "And if I refuse?" he asked. The corner of her mouth twitched in something close to amusement. "You will not," she replied. "You have seen my power, and you know your survival depends on more than defiance." Ryan stayed silent, studying the way her eyes held no fear. She walked to the viewport and looked out at the drifting stars. "Your people will wonder where you are," she said. "Some will assume you are dead. Some will hope you are alive. Which is more dangerous, I wonder?" Ryan took a step toward her. "Dangerous for who?" he asked. Her head turned slightly, and he caught a glint of curiosity in her gaze. "Perhaps both," she said. "You are not like the others I have taken in battle. They break quickly. You do not break." Her voice was steady, but something about the way she said it carried a weight she did not explain. Ryan sat at the table and rested his hands on the smooth surface. "Maybe I don't break because I don't see you as a monster," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "And what do you see?" she asked. "A leader who believes she is always right," he replied. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the queen stepped closer, her shadow falling across the table. "You are bold to speak to me this way," she said. Ryan kept his voice calm. "Boldness is sometimes the only thing that keeps you alive," he said. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not order his removal or punishment. Instead, she moved to the other side of the table and sat down. "You intrigue me," she said. "But intrigue is dangerous. It can make leaders act against their own rules." Ryan leaned forward slightly. "Then maybe you need new rules," he said. Her expression froze for a moment, then softened in a way so small it could have been imagined. "Your people's defiance is legendary, Captain Hale. Now I see it is not only in your armies, but in your words," she said. A soft chime interrupted them, and a holographic image appeared between them on the table. It showed a battlefield, far below on the planet's surface. Human forces were retreating under heavy fire, smoke curling from broken vehicles. The queen watched without flinching. "Your world bleeds," she said. "And yet here you sit, speaking as if we are equals." Ryan looked at the image, then at her. "Maybe because talking to you is more useful than dying in the dirt," he said. Her gaze lingered on him, as if measuring the truth in his words. The image faded, leaving only the smooth surface of the table between them. The queen stood and moved toward the door. "You will remain here until I decide otherwise," she said. "There will be food brought to you. Use this time to think, Captain. Your words may yet shape the outcome of this war." Ryan rose to his feet. "And your choices may shape more than you think," he said. She paused at the doorway, her back to him. For a moment, he thought she might turn around. Instead, she spoke without looking back. "We will see," she said. Ryan spent hours in the strange chamber, watching the stars drift past the viewport. The quiet was almost unnatural after the chaos of the battlefield. Every now and then, the drone in the corner shifted position, reminding him he was never truly alone. He considered the queen's words, wondering if her interest in him was a tactic or something more complicated. Either way, he knew he could not waste this chance to influence her decisions. When the door finally opened, it was not the queen who entered, but a young alien attendant carrying a tray of food. The scent was unlike anything Ryan had smelled before. A mix of herbs, something sweet, and a faint metallic tang. The attendant placed the tray on the table without speaking and turned to leave. Ryan stopped him with a simple question. "Do you fear her?" he asked. The attendant froze, then shook his head quickly before hurrying out. Ryan watched him go, wondering if that fear was loyalty or survival. The food was surprisingly good. It reminded him of meals shared with soldiers between missions, moments of comfort stolen in the middle of war. He ate slowly, thinking about how the queen had called him a guest under watch. Guest or prisoner, the difference would only matter if he could turn it to his advantage. He had seen something in her. Not weakness exactly, but a crack in the armor. If he could widen it, perhaps Earth's chances would grow. Not long after he finished, the guards returned. This time, they led him not to the throne room, but to a smaller council chamber. The walls here were lined with tall data pillars, each glowing with streams of alien script. Around the circular table sat several high-ranking officers, their armor more ornate than the soldiers he had seen before. The queen was already there, seated at the head of the table. She gestured for him to sit across from her, her eyes sharp and unreadable. "We have been discussing your people," she said. "Some here believe you are more trouble than your world is worth. Others think you could be useful, if guided." Ryan leaned back slightly. "Useful to who? To your empire?" he asked. She tilted her head. "To the galaxy," she said. "Under our rule, there would be no more wars between your kind. No more wasted lives." Ryan's jaw tightened. "And, in return, we give up our freedom," he said. She did not deny it. One of the officers leaned forward, his voice cold. "Your species is stubborn, but stubbornness burns out when the fire is too great." Ryan looked at him calmly. "Or it spreads," he said. The queen raised a hand, silencing the officer before he could reply. "Enough," she said. Her gaze returned to Ryan. "You spoke before of care and defiance. Show me how that survives when your armies are gone." Ryan met her stare without flinching. "It survives in the people, not the armies," he said. She studied him for a moment before speaking again. "There will be a meeting of worlds in 3 cycles. Leaders from allied systems will attend. You will stand beside me as I speak of Earth." Ryan frowned slightly. "As a prisoner or as a representative?" he asked. Her lips curved faintly. "Perhaps both," she said. "You will speak only when I tell you to." He considered refusing, but the opportunity was too great. Standing before those leaders might be the only chance to tell Earth's truth. The meeting ended without further debate, and Ryan was escorted back to his chamber. He sat at the table, staring at the empty plate from earlier. The queen was playing a dangerous game, but so was he. If he spoke too boldly, he could be silenced forever. If he spoke too little, Earth could be lost without a fight. He needed a plan, one that could survive the queen's control and reach the ears of those who mattered. That night, he lay on the bed staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the war raged on. Soldiers he had fought beside were still holding the line, and civilians were still running from the fire. He thought of the Queen's eyes, the way they seemed to search for something even when she tried to hide it. Maybe she wanted to understand him as much as he wanted to understand her. Or maybe she was looking for a reason to destroy him. Either way, the path ahead would not be simple. The morning came without sunlight, only the dim violet glow of the alien ship's cycle lamps. Ryan sat at the table, his thoughts sharp despite the restless night. When the door opened, the Queen herself entered, flanked by 2 guards. She wore her crown again, and the golden points caught the light as she stepped inside. "It is time," she said. Ryan rose, noting the formality in her tone. Today was the meeting she had spoken of, and whatever happened there could decide more than just his fate. They walked together through the long corridors of the flagship. Alien crew members stepped aside as the Queen passed, lowering their heads in respect. Ryan noticed how her presence commanded more than fear. It carried a weight of expectation. She glanced at him only once as they approached the grand hall. "Remember your place," she said. "You will speak when I allow it." Ryan gave the smallest nod. He was not here to win an argument with her in the hallway. He was here to make his voice reach the ones who could change the course of the war. The hall itself was unlike anything Ryan had seen before. High pillars of light rose from the floor to the ceiling, casting shifting colors across the assembled delegates. Creatures from dozens of worlds sat in curved rows, their eyes, scales, and features reflecting the brilliance of the chamber. At the center stood a circular platform where the Queen would address them. She led him there, the sound of her footsteps echoing in the vast space. The moment they reached the platform, all voices fell silent. The Queen began to speak in her own language, her voice clear and commanding. Ryan could not understand the words, but he could see the effect on the delegates. Some nodded, others frowned, and a few sat utterly still. Then, without warning, she gestured toward him. The translator device on the podium activated, and her words reached him. "This is a human captain. He has seen the strength of our empire. He will speak to you now." Ryan stepped forward, the weight of every watching eye pressing on him. He began simply. "I have seen your power," he said. "I have seen your armies, your ships, your weapons, but I have also seen what you cannot destroy. The will of my people." A murmur rippled through the chamber. He let it pass before continuing. "We are not the strongest. We are not the oldest. But we stand. We stand for our homes, our families, and for the freedom to choose our own path." The translator projected his words in shimmering light above him, and he saw some of the delegates lean closer. He told them of Earth's history, of wars fought and lost, of rebuilding, of cooperation between enemies when survival demanded it. He spoke of how humans had learned to endure storms that would have broken others. "You think conquest will end conflict," he said. "But peace cannot grow from chains. It grows from respect." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not stop him. Some of her own allies were now exchanging glances, their expressions thoughtful. Ryan knew he had struck a chord. A tall delegate with emerald skin and long silver robes rose from the second row. "And if your world refuses to kneel, what then?" the translator rendered. Ryan met the alien's gaze. "Then we fight until, we can't. And even then, we find a way to rise again," he said. Another voice from the crowd asked what humans could offer the galaxy besides resistance. "Ingenuity," Ryan answered. "The ability to adapt. The will to protect not just ourselves, but those who stand beside us." His words hung in the air like a challenge. When he finished, the Queen stepped forward again. Her expression was unreadable, her voice smooth. "You have heard the human," she said to the assembly. "He speaks with conviction, whether it is courage or folly. Time will decide. The delegates murmured among themselves as the Queen signaled the end of the meeting. She turned and began walking toward the exit without looking at him. Yet Ryan felt the shift in the air. Something had changed, even if neither of them would name it. Back in the corridor, she finally spoke. "You were bold," she said quietly. "Too bold for some." Ryan walked beside her without slowing. "You wanted them to hear the truth," he replied. "I gave it to them." She glanced at him, a flicker of something unspoken in her eyes. "Perhaps," she said, "or perhaps you've just made my work harder." He almost smiled. "Then maybe I'm doing it right," he said. The Queen did not speak to Ryan again for the rest of the day. He was escorted back to his chamber under heavier guard than before. The door closed with a hiss, and the drone resumed its quiet watch from the corner. Ryan sat at the table, running through the meeting in his mind. Some delegates had listened. Others had dismissed him without thought. But in their eyes, he had seen cracks. Small, but there. Cracks could grow if pushed in the right way. Hours later, the door opened again. But this time, it was not the Queen or her guards. The young alien attendant from before slipped inside, carrying a folded strip of metallic fabric. "For you," the attendant said softly. Ryan unfolded it and found a cloak marked with a symbol he did not recognize. "What is this?" he asked. The attendant hesitated before answering. "Some who heard you today think you should be protected." Ryan studied the cloak for a long moment before setting it on the chair beside him. The attendant left as quietly as he had come. Ryan leaned back, staring at the cloak. Protection was a dangerous gift. It meant someone saw value in him. But it also meant someone else would want to take that value away. The Queen would know of this soon, if she did not already. He needed to be ready for whatever her response might be. And if this was a move in some larger game among her allies, he would have to play along without losing his own aim. When the Queen came later, her entrance was silent but commanding. She stood near the doorway, her eyes going straight to the cloak. "You've been making friends," she said. Ryan kept his tone steady. "I speak. Some listen. That's all." She walked farther into the room, stopping just across from him. "Do not mistake interest for loyalty," she said. "Allies in my world can turn to enemies in a single breath." Ryan nodded slowly. "Sounds familiar," he replied. She tilted her head, as if deciding whether to take offense or see truth. In his words, she circled the table once before stopping at the viewport. The stars beyond seemed to hold her attention, but her next words were directed at him. "Your presence has caused unrest. Some call for your execution. Others want you sent back to Earth as a message." Ryan stood, keeping a respectful distance. "And what do you want?" he asked. She turned, and for a moment, the hard edge in her eyes softened. "I want to know if you are as unbreakable as you pretend," she said. Ryan's answer was calm but firm. "You could have killed me already if that's what you wanted. Maybe you're not as certain as you pretend either." The room went still. The guards at the door shifted slightly, waiting for her reaction. Instead of anger, a faint smile touched her lips. "You risk much by speaking to me like this," she said. "And yet I find I do not want you to stop." Her words were almost too quiet to catch, but they carried more weight than any threat she could have made. She stepped closer until only the table separated them. "If I keep you alive, it will not be because of pity," she said. "It will be because you serve a purpose I have yet to define." Ryan leaned forward slightly. "Then define it," he said. Her eyes locked on his, and for several long seconds neither moved. Finally, she turned away, her white braid swinging with the motion. "Not yet," she said, "but soon." The way she said it left Ryan unsure if it was a promise or a warning. When she left, Ryan sat back down and pulled the cloak over his shoulders. It was heavier than it looked, warm against the cool air of the chamber. He thought about the voices in the meeting hall, the questions, the way some of the delegates had seemed unsettled. The Queen's control was strong, but not unshakable. He had seen enough to know that even the mightiest empires could be made to bend. All it took was the right moment, the right pressure, and the will to stand when others knelt. The next day began with a sharp knock on Ryan's chamber door. 2 guards entered, their movements brisk and without the usual silent menace. "The Queen summons you," one said. Ryan rose and followed them through the long corridors, the steady hum of the flagship's engines beneath his feet. He did not ask where they were going. He had learned that answers often revealed themselves if he simply kept walking. They emerged into a smaller hall than the grand meeting chamber, but it still carried the same sense of power. The Queen stood at the far end, dressed in full ceremonial armor, her crown gleaming under the bright lights. Several high-ranking delegates from the previous meeting were present, their expressions unreadable. "Captain Hale," the Queen said, her voice carrying easily through the room. "Today, we decide what to do with you." Ryan met her gaze, refusing to let the weight of her words bend his spine. One of the delegates stepped forward. "The Caesar's human has stirred dissent," he said. "He speaks well, but his words can fracture unity." Another, with narrow golden eyes, shook her head. "Or they can reveal truths we have ignored," she said. The Queen listened to them both, her expression giving nothing away. Finally, she looked back at Ryan. "Do you still stand by the words you spoke in the council?" she asked. "Every one of them," Ryan answered without hesitation. The silence that followed was thick enough to feel. The Queen descended the steps from her place of command, her eyes fixed on his. "Then I will give you a choice," she said. "You can return to your people as a warning, carrying my terms of surrender, or you can remain here, under my watch, and speak for Earth in the coming Council of Rulers." Ryan studied her carefully. "And what happens if I refuse both?" he asked. Her gaze sharpened. "Then you will vanish, and the galaxy will forget you ever existed," she said. Ryan's mind worked quickly. Returning with surrender terms would break Earth's spirit. Staying could give him more influence, but it would also keep him under her control. "If I stay, I speak my mind," he said. "No scripted lines. No false praise for your empire." The Queen's lips curved slightly. "You bargain from a weak position," she said. Ryan held her gaze. "Only if you believe strength is just about power," he said. The faintest shadow of a smile passed over her face before she looked away. Turning to the gathered delegates, the Queen raised her voice. "This human will remain. He will speak in the council as an envoy of his world, under my protection." The words sparked immediate debate, but no one openly challenged her. Ryan caught the glances of those who had seemed sympathetic before. Now they watched him more closely, measuring him in a new way. The decision had been made, but its consequences were only beginning to take shape. When the delegates were dismissed, the Queen walked beside Ryan toward the exit. "You have gained time," she said quietly. "Do not waste it." Ryan glanced at her. "And you?" he asked. "Why keep me here when ending me would be easier?" She did not slow her steps. "Because sometimes, Captain Hale, a single voice can do what armies cannot," she said. Her tone was even, but the weight in her words told him she had thought long about this choice. Back in his chamber, Ryan stood at the viewport, watching the stars slide past. Earth was still out there, still fighting, still refusing to kneel. He knew his role had changed. He was no longer just a prisoner, or even just a soldier. He was a bridge between two worlds, one that could collapse at any time if he made a wrong move. But as long as he breathed, he would use that bridge to carry his people's truth into every hall of power he could reach.